breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. As in segment number 2, going to be joined by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, over there at 710 Seattle Sports. We have to take a look at this AL West landscape. He is the pre- and post-game voice for the Seattle Mariners, so I have to talk about how things have not been going right for the Seattle Mariners, to say the least. Great starting pitching. The lineup has been very, very rough, to say the least, so we're going to be diving in on that. We'll take a look at the entirety of the American League and just some of the teams that he looks at that he's feeling a little bit bullish/bearish on as well. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but we did have ourselves a great day of baseball on Friday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The fish got fried as they're averaging just 3.7 runs per game since the All-Star break, 1-0. The Reds get the job done as James Burns. He made the Marlins feel the burn. 7 shutout innings. Brock and Wilbur, Emilio Pagan, both on his scoreless setting. Josh Eknes scoreless setting after Sandy Alcantara lent a good start. 1 run allowed in 7 innings, but absolutely nothing doing for the team at the plate. So for the Miami Marlins, they find a way to persevere. The Red Sox, not a lot doing for them recently. They have now lost 6 out of their last 7 games. Pirates get an 8-4 win. Bubba Chandler, 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. He seems to be turning the corner. Diminuto Vol is not. He gives up a run in an inning. Kirby Yates gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Mason Montgomery out of the bullpen scoreless. Luke Weaver, Gregory Soto, both on the scoreless setting, and Jake Bennett, aggression at him here. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings as he was taken deep by Mr. Flores Jr. for his 4th home run in the campaign, his 3rd home run in the last 3 games, and 4th of the season for Rafael Flores Jr. And then Brandon Lau gets loud off of Giovanni Morin, 26th home run of the campaign. Morin gives up 3 runs over the course of his inning of work, and then he had 3 innings of long relief from Alec Gamboa in the bullpen, and he was pretty solid. He has been all season long. Gives up 1 run, but too little too late out there. The Slam Diego Padres, averaging more than 5 runs per game since the All-Star break. They stay hot, 7-5. They take down the Cleveland Guardians as Gavin Williams, not what he was looking for. 5 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, taken deep by Xander Bogaerts, 11th home run season. Fernando Tatis Jr., his 13th of the season, had 5 before the All-Star break, 8 post-All-Star break, and Michael King, well, he was the king of regression here, gives up a pair of home runs as Nathan Lowe gets low for his 14th home run season. Brian Rocchio is 10th, gives up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 6 innings. Yuki Matsui and Bradley Rodriguez from there give you a scoreless inning. Jeremiah Estrada gives up a run in his inning of work, but you did have, on the flip side for the Guardians, 2 runs allowed by Colin Holderman in 2/3 of an inning. Did not live up to his name. Craig Yoho, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Franco Ailman, Tim Herron, they both give you a scoreless inning. Matt Fessa had a fiesta for 4 outside the bullpen squirrels, but too little too late out there. The top home team in all of baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays, rare home loss here, 6-5. They fall to the Orioles despite the fact that they put up a 3 spot in the 9th inning as Chris Bassett had you a hook, line, and sinker. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, you had Andrew Kittredge, Uncle Rico Garcia, both give you a scoreless inning. Josh Walker, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Yanir Cano made a mess out of things, don't you know? He gave up a trio of runs in 2/3 of an inning, but you had Cam Sanders come and get the final out of the game, and for Steven Matz, he was merely an opener in this game. He got a scoreless inning for the team, and then Jesse Schultz from there, he gives up 2 runs in his 3 innings of work. He was taken deep by Colton Cowser, his 3rd home run in the campaign, and a little bit later on, it was home run number 20 of the campaign for Gunnar Henderson. That comes off of Chris Roycroft for Roycroft. Not what he was looking for here, as he gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 innings. Cam Boozer, Tyler Wells, they pitch well as they both were able to give you a scoreless inning, but Gary Clevenger, he does give up a pair of runs in a 1/3 of an inning. Kevin Kelly, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. So for the Rays, unable to get the job done here. Also unable to get the job done. How about the Atlanta Braves at home? 2-0, the Diamondbacks get the win. For Brandon Pfaadt, since he returned to the starting rotation, the team is 7-1 in his starts. He is the most profitable pitcher in all of baseball in this time span. If you bet all of his starts for $100 on the money line, you're up about $800, give or take. So he has been tremendous there. And in this one, he was once again amazing. 7 shutout innings. From there, Juan Murillo along with Braden Garcia, they were both able to come in for a scoreless inning. And it's not like Chris Sale was bad in this one. He gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. So he certainly was able to do his part, but nothing doing for the team at the plate. DDA Fuentes, Dylan Dodd, the Dodd father, they both give you a scoreless inning. And then from there, you had a run given up by Tyler Kinley. That was a solo shot to Tim Tebow, his 7th home run of the campaign. Not a lot of scoring out there in Los Angeles from the Dodgers. The other Los Angeles team did, but for the Dodgers, 3-1, they're able to take down the Milwaukee Brewers. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Evan Phillips, Tanner Scott, Edwin Diaz, after he really yacked away that game on Thursday. I'll give you a scoreless inning, and Robert Gasser, 3 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Tommy Edman took him deep, 4th home run season. Andy Paz did as well, his 20th. From there, Grant Anderson, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Bryce Wilson came in and gave you a scoreless inning, but too little too late there for the Rockies. They've now won 3 straight road games. That's a rarity for them. They have been the worst road team in the National League, 5-2. They take down the Giants as Landon Roop. He continues to be doing for regression, and it continues to not come in terms of positive regression. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, and he was taken deep, getting home run number 2 of the season. And I believe this is his 2nd home run in like the last 3 days, Zach Veen, so he's been able to get hot. From there, you did have an out of the bullpen from Revier St. Martin. JT Brubaker, a scoreless inning, did have 1 run given up in 1 1/3 innings by Trent Harris, and then Jason Foley, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Meanwhile, for Kyle Freeland, he seems to be rounding into form, gives up a solo run over the course of 8 innings, that one to Bryce Eldridge, 13th home run season, then Brendan Bernardino gives up a run in an inning, but the Rockies are able to get the job done there. Being able to get the job done as a bit of an underdog. How about the Kansas City Royals? Actually, in some places they were a favorite. Relative pick'em game, 7-6. They take down the Angels. I saw quite a bit of scoring here for an Angels team that has not scored a lot here since the All-Star break. And Grayson Rodriguez, he comes in, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings, and he was taken deep by Michael Massey, 10th home run of the season. Later on, Jack Aguileon, 20th home run of the campaign, 2 runs given up in 2 innings by Sammy Peralta. And then from there, you had a pair of runs given up by Tyler Cicado in a 1/3 of an inning. Did have Luke Murphy give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Ryan Watson a scoreless inning. Seth Lugo, not himself in this one, 5 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, but Jose Quas and out of the bullpen scoreless. Alex Lang does give up a solo run to Josh Flo. He gets low for his 9th home run in the campaign, gives up that run in an inning, but John Schreiber, Nate Pearson, Stephen Cruz from there, they're all able to end scoreless innings for the White Sox. They went with the wholesale approach, and it got them the 9-5 win. Jackson Jobe, not what he was looking for. 6 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. Take it deep twice in this one as Montaka Murakami, 27th home run season. Tristan Peters, a former Savannah Banana, his 7th. And then Miguel Vargas, pair of bombs, 26th and 27th home runs this season. Goes deep off of Emmanuel De Jesus, who gives up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings, including that bomb. Ty Mann, a solo home run, 1 run allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Jacob Aguispack, 1 1/3 innings scoreless. And for Sean Newcomb, he gets 4 outs out of the opener spot scoreless. From there, Jose Urquidy does give up 3 runs in 3 2/3 innings as it was home run number 2 of the campaign for the young gun outfielder Ben Malgeri, and then he would get his 3rd home run of the campaign as he was able to get that one off of Scott Brisbane, who gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, but Grant Taylor, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Brian Hudson was able to get a scoreless inning of his own. The Mets were able to hold down the fort against the Nationals, 4-1. They get the win as for Andrew Alvarez, 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. He wasn't too bad. Was taken deep by Francisco Lindor, 12th home run of the campaign, and then a little bit later on, it was home run number 8 of the season for Jacob Young. He gets that one off of Jake Bird, who gives a bird, giving up 2 runs in his inning work. Max Kranick, he gets 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Robert Stock, he did put quite a few men on base. The Nationals, they stranded 10 men on base. He gives up an unearned run over the course of 4 1/3 innings. Nate Lavender, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Dan Duarte, Kodai Senga, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Jonathan Bintaro was able to come in, and he held it scoreless for 2 innings, being able to hold things relatively scoreless as well. The Chicago Cubs actually completely scoreless, 3-0. They start off the day with a win over the St. Louis Cardinals. Big shot in this game, Seiya Suzuki, 21st home run on the campaign, 3-run shot in this one off of George Soriano. For Matthew Liberatore, he put a pair of men on base in that one, 5 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs. Soriano then gives up that home run, so he was credited with 1 run in 2/3 of an inning. Peter Strzelecki from there, 2 scoreless innings, and Clay Holmes was great, gives up 1 in 6 2/3 innings scoreless. Ryan Rolson and out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Ryan Zephyrian, Jacob Webb. They had them in a web, both being able to get a scoreless inning apiece for the Athletics. Yea, verily, as they are now in their last 46 games, 10-36. 8-3, they take down the Texas Rangers, who have all of a sudden gone very cold. Cooper Rocker does get rocked for 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Chase Silseth gives up a solo run in his inning work. Same goes for Robbie Alstrom as Going deep, it was Lawrence Butler, 10th home run season, Jeff McNeil, his 5th, Tyler Alexander gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in a third inning, and then Marco Gonzalez, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Gage Jump does give up 3 runs in 5 and a third innings, has really struggled at home. Jake Berger, 20th home run season, and Athletics bullpen that has not been great this year, actually pretty solid year. Elvis Alvarado is in the building for a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Drew Rom, Luis Medina, they combine for 2 shutout innings, and then Hogan Harris, squirrels saying to be able to get that one in. Being able to get this one in, the Houston Astros, 10-7. They take down the Seattle Mariners in extra innings. As for the Mariners, they tried to storm back as they were able to erase a 5-2 deficit thanks to the fact that they were able to get a little bit of small ball going, 4 of 12 with men in scoring position. George Kirby, not what he was looking for, 5 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. From there, you had Michael Rucker give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, Gabe Speier squirrel setting, Edward Bizardo, a pair of squirrel settings, and Andres Munoz. Going into this game since June 12th, I believe it was, he had given up 2 earned runs. In the 10th inning, he gives up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, including a 3-run shot to Christian Walker, 23rd home run of the campaign. Earlier in the game, Yordan Alvarez, 36th home run of the campaign. And for the Astros, Peter Lambert gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Bennett Sosa, he gives up a run in his inning of work. Steven Oker, Brian Abreu, they both come in for an inning with Oker keeping it scoreless. Abreu gives up 2 runs in his inning, but Josh Hader scoreless 9th inning. And then Aniel De Los Santos does give up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in the 10th. But the Astros put up a 5 spot. They were able to get that one in. And for the Yankees, they fall to the Toronto Blue Jays by a count of 3-1. Shane Bieber had a fever for getting outs. Does give up a home run to Trent Grisham, 16th home run season. That's all that he would allow in 6 innings. From there, Taylor Rogers, Mason Flaherty, they combine for 2 shutout innings. Louis Varland, 8 squirrel setting, and Garrett Cole. He wasn't really a lump of coal here. He was fine. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings. Paul Blackburn walks the plank for a squirrel setting. And then you did have a run given up in an inning by the young gun in Bradley Hanner, which I believe that this might have been his MLB debut. He gives up a home run to don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk, his 5th home run in the campaign. And for the Yankees, averaging less than 3.8 runs per game their last 41 games. Not a lot doing there, and if you've been taking unders here in the second half of the season, there has been a whole heck of a lot doing for you. Now, the overs have been quite a bit better here over the last few days, but you take a look overall for the season, and the under rate is right around about 50.8%, 880 overs, 909 unders, and if that serves me correct, we have now had 36 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line hitting at 55.9%, 998 and 786, and among those favorites, we have now seen 250 fail to cover the run line last 30 days in baseball. 211 and 173 is the mark for favorites on the money line. And among those favorites, we've seen 65 fail to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the under rate in baseball over the last 30 days is in that neighborhood, about 54.8%, 210 unders, 173 overs. And I believe in terms of pushes, we're up to like 22 along the way. We've had quite a few here recently. And over the last 7 days in baseball, 44 overs, 44 unders. And we have had a lot of pushes with these. I believe we've had 5 along the way. And favorites on the money line over the last 7 days, 43 and 47, with 14 failing to cover the run line. So more underdogs than favorites cashing in baseball over the last 7 days. That's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with our good friend Curtis Rogers of 710 Seattle Sports, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by Curtis Rogers, who does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He's got his finger on the pulse of a little bit of everything, especially with what's happening in college basketball, because Gonzaga signed like 15 different guys, so he's been very busy there. The Seattle Seahawks are starting up preseason football. He does a great job on that front. The Seattle Kraken, you name it, he does it. He's on Instagram and Twitter/X at A Kid From Kent altogether. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you and get into this baseball season that it's crazy. We're in the final quarter now, 40 games remaining for a lot of these teams, and we are seeing a lot of teams separate themselves, whether that be stacking a lot of wins or, in the case of the team that I follow closest, taking on a lot of L's as of late. So it is a really, really important time to get in, especially as the playoff picture gets clearer and clearer.
And I'm so glad that you start right there because you mentioned it for the Mariners. It's been rough. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They didn't have the greatest series out there in New York, but they pulled out that 1-0 win on Thursday. And how do you look at this Mariners team that has played bad baseball recently? They're 24-36 on the road, and yet here they are, 3.5 games out of a wild card spot that could be made up in like a week.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a very important series, too, coming up against the Houston Astros, where you have a chance to really get back in the American League West race. And that's the crazy thing is that the Mariners are very much not out of it. Like, they're very much alive in both the AL West.
The leader of the AL West is 62-60.
Exactly, barely 500. And my co-host Charlie Furbish, former Major League pitcher, and we were discussing on Thursday's postgame show just kind of what will be that number it takes to win the American League West. And we kind of decided that like 86 wins will probably clinch it. Like that, you'll win it comfortably with 86 wins. You're probably only going to need like 84 wins to win the American League West. So then you kind of look at what each team needs to get to that 84 win clip. And, you're looking at, 23, 24 wins for the Astros. You're looking at, 26, 27 wins for the Rangers. And then for the Mariners, you're looking at about 28 to 30 wins. And it's a tall task for all three teams just to get to the finish line in the American League West. And so no one has asserted themselves as the dominant team in the AL West. Everybody's kind of had their one shot at leading the division. It's the Astros right now. It's been the Rangers at times. It was the Mariners for most of the first half of the regular season. So at any point, somebody might, grab a hold of this thing. But as of right now, no one really cares to step forward and say, I will take it. I will handle my business. I will win the American League West.
It's like everyone at the dinner table that's on a diet. They're like, oh, would you like this very, very nice fancy souffle with a really, really good glass of wine? And everyone's like, no, thanks. I'm watching my figure. So that's been interesting to look at, to say the least, as we do our good friend Curtis Rogers of 710 Seattle Sports joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And you mentioned it. Critical series. We're doing this out of knowing what happened in the Friday game between the Astros and the Seattle Mariners. But on Saturday, it's going to be Emerson Hancock going up against most likely Hayden Wesneski, a game where the Mariners should have the starting pitching advantage. And how are you taking a look at things right now for Seattle? Because they have struggled on the road, but in most of these games moving forward, they are going to have the starting pitching advantage. And it comes back to what I feel like we've talked about on the podcast so much. Where's the offense coming from for Seattle?
Absolutely. And we saw it in the finale against the Yankees, a 1-0 win. Weston Wilson, of all people, hitting the decisive blow in that game. Kind of like you said, the offense has been the biggest killer for the Mariners this season. They have not been able to get it consistently. A lot of that falls on the shoulders of Cal Raleigh and his historic drop-off from a year ago. In the first half of the season, we kind of attributed to injury, but right now, it is very much just kind of ineffectiveness from him, with his OPS plus being just in the 60s. His OPS itself is less than 600. It's pretty inexplicable right now to see him struggle the way he has. I get that the injury took its toll, but the rest of the offense too has underperformed. Josh Naylor specifically, the power numbers aren't there. He did have a multi-home run game on the previous homestand, but that was for his first 2 home runs in the span of about a month and a half. So it has been quite the power outage for the Mariners offense. To me, I look at the Mariners' 2 biggest struggles right now in its offense, and I would say it's bullpen decisions. Not necessarily the guys in the bullpen, but just kind of like, who are you going to go to? And I think that falls squarely on the shoulders of manager Dan Wilson, who is in charge of a lot of the bullpen decisions. You look at just kind of his reliance on some guys. Michael Rucker is one guy in the Mariners bullpen that they have put in a lot of high leverage spots, and he has not delivered. They've had a really hard time getting the ball from the starting pitcher, who will go 5, 6, 7 innings, to Andres Munoz, who, look, Munoz in the first half of the season was bad. Like, we'll be very honest about that. But since June 14th, he has allowed 2 earned runs over a span of 2 months. He is back to being Andres Munoz. The problem is he has not had many opportunities to be Andres Munoz in these games. So if the Mariners can get a whisper of offense and some decent bullpen help in the bridge innings, then I think things will be looking up for them. But that's really hard to find this time of year. I know they just made the move to send Colt Emerson back down to AAA, their highly touted prospect, who got off to a really fast start, had a bunch of home runs early on, but has really struggled as of late. So hopefully they can find some offense by moving him down to AAA. JP Crawford's still injured, but right now, yeah, offense and the bullpen, that has been the biggest issue for the Mariners right now. Got to get that sorted out if they want to have a fighting chance in either the AL West or the wild card.
Right now, as bad as it sounds, it's Connor Joe, where'd you go? Because they're looking for anything right now with the Seattle Mariners with that offense. And again, with the Seattle Mariners, I think the biggest thing for them is, even looking outside the AL West, the entire American League is still a hodgepodge right now, where the Rays have the best record in the American League. The Red Sox were as hot as lava for a bit, but now they've cooled back down a little bit. The AL Central is about as chaotic right now as the AL West, where the Chicago White Sox, through 121 games, are right now leading the division. And how real do you think that it is that the Mariners might still be live for a wild card spot too?
I think anything is possible in the American League as of mid-August here. There is no team that I look at in the American League that I will wrap both arms around and say, yes, you are worthy of being in the World Series. Now, I know that the Rays have been the hottest team in the AL, winners of 9 in a row. 74-46 is their record. They've been amazing at Tropicana Field this season, but you look up and down that lineup, outside of Junior Caminero, there really is not a name that I look at and say, oh, I really got to pay attention to him. It's just kind of been a collective effort. So I wonder if the Rays do have the star power that can get them over the top in the American League. One team that is really charging on as of late, and it's weird because they were obvious sellers at the deadline, was the Tigers and how they got rid of Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize.
Trying to do it twice in 3 years. Sell at the deadline
exactly.
and make the playoffs.
Exactly. They've been incredible as of late, and they have the best run differential of any team in the American League, sitting just one game below 500 right now. I look at them as a team very much capable of knocking off the White Sox in the AL Central simply because the Tigers have been there the last 2 years. They made the Mariners fight for their lives in the American League Division Series a year ago. The year prior, they won that wild card round against the Houston Astros. So this Tigers team is battle-tested in recent seasons. But ultimately in the American League, it's going to come down to when/if the Yankees get Aaron Judge back. If they get him back, that would go a long way in determining who is going to win the American League. I think the Yankees have the pitching. They certainly have the pitching, especially in their starting rotation. Their bullpen got some help too. I also like the reinforcements they got offensively in Luis Garcia and Elliot Ramos, but they need Aaron Judge back in the worst way. If they can get him back, I think the Yankees are the clear-cut favorites in the American League, even if they do have to go through the wild card round and have to go on the road in the division series. I think they have what it takes. But outside of that, it is slim pickings in the American League right now, especially with two divisions, the Central and the West, only with two teams combined above 500. I've never seen it like this, Greg, and I thought we would see more competitive teams in the American League by the time we were a couple weeks past the trade deadline, but it has just simply not come to be in the AL this year.
No, it certainly is not. This has been very interesting, to say at least, what we've been getting out there in the American League, where it feels like it's the twilight zone of baseball. Everything that you thought that you know about baseball has went down the toilet bowl. But that said, that's why we love this game. And just looking at the hierarchy of baseball, is there just a team or two right now that you're feeling bull/bearish on, whether that be the National League or the American League? Because while the American League is having a hodgepodge with every playoff spot, it feels like in the National League, it's pretty clear that the Dodgers and the Brewers are the top teams. But other than that, the way that the Cubs are surging, the way that the Phillies are declining, those wild card spots with like the Padres and the Diamondbacks, there's a lot of intrigue there too.
Yeah, there is. And I remember last time we were on, we spoke about the Padres and just kind of their moves that kind of went under the radar at the trade deadline, picking up Mize and picking up Robbie Ray. And all of a sudden now, winners of 5 in a row, they have vaulted themselves into the second wild card in the National League. I think this Padres team has always had the talent, even if they did underperform to start this season, and they underperformed greatly, but they've now leapfrogged the Diamondbacks. They're ahead of the Phillies. I think this Padres team, Greg, is one that's not going to go quietly into the night, and I think the additions that they made, and maybe even the things that they didn't do at the deadline. I know there was a lot of talk about them potentially moving Mason Miller, but they did not, and I think that's ultimately going to benefit them coming down the stretch here because they still have the best reliever in baseball. I know the Mariners were very interested in Mason Miller. I believe talks got to a point where the Padres had asked for Cade Anderson, the Mariners' top pitching prospect, and the Mariners basically hung up the phone on the Padres with that offer. So I kind of look at what the Padres maybe didn't do at the deadline, in addition to what they did do. It has a big reason for why they are where they are at. So, yeah, the National League very crowded with really good teams, and the Padres kind of asserting themselves as another one. I just think it's going to be a bloodbath in the NL coming down the stretch here, and also in the playoffs. It does kind of feel like whoever wins the National League this year is certainly going to have the inside track to winning a World Series, considering how good, not just their best teams are, but even kind of the second rung of teams in the National League is, definitely compared to the American League, where, teams in the AL, you look at winner of the AL Central will probably be given a first-round bye into the divisional round, and they'll probably have a record of 84, 85 wins, maybe even the American League West, too. So it's going to be, I think, it's going to be a very fun National League playoffs. And in the American League, it's going to be kind of whoever is the last man standing in the kind of worst Royal Rumble possible in the American League. Because right now, if it's not the Yankees and it's not the Rays in the AL, I don't know who's going to step forth.
It's like when you get the picture of the three dragons. You've got two really, really fierce ones, and then the one that's sticking out its tongue and wanting to pick dandelions. So that has been a lot of fun, to say the least. And Curtis, you've got a front row seat to it all, especially the American League, as the Seattle Mariners, despite how many losses they've taken the last few weeks, they are still right there for a playoff spot. If they have a big week this week, who knows what's going to be happening. And I know you're locked in on it all. You're doing a great job looking at Gonzaga, signing 5 million guys here at the transfer portal, and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on here as we get closer and closer to the end of the baseball season. A lot of great conversations this week on our station. We spoke with Jeff Passan of ESPN. He makes a weekly check-in with us, so very important information sharing there. We've also got a lot to get to. I spoke with Yankees analyst Emmanuel Berbari as well. I checked in on them, and so lots and lots of good stuff to get to on our station, seattlesports.com, Seattle Sports YouTube page, where you can go to subscribe and catch all those videos. It is just a click away, and we're nearing 100,000 subscribers, so we want to get that plaque, that silver plaque that they send us. So make sure you're clicking subscribe as well. And Greg, always happy to hop on, check in with you on this great baseball season that we've been having, and I look forward to the next time we do it.
Absolutely. Everyone wants that plaque, and our man Curtis deserves it more than so many others. He does such an amazing job looking at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me, lends amazing insight. So big thanks to Curtis for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Curtis Rogers. Does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So, a big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GNet_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go through the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and the Interleague games. Those are going to be listed at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. We start things off with 901, 902 on the card. It is the Cardinals. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago Cubs, as Matthew Boyd is going to be going for the Cubs, and Michael McGreevy goes for the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, the initial total I am seeing is a 9. The over is -120, and the under is even money. And When it comes to the Cardinals, you're going to be getting them anywhere between plus 146 to a plus 158, minus 174 to a minus 182. That is your number on the Chicago Cubs. And with the Cubs, I set their money line price here at a minus 154. So plus 155 or better does put me in on the St. Louis Cardinals. I still don't have a ton of faith in Matthew Boyd. I know that the ERA has been coming down, but since coming off the injury list, he's been only getting in the neighborhood about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings overall for the season, about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Michael McGreevy is not a swing and miss guy as well. Solid 3.64 ERA. Fielding independent is above a 4, 6.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, and this has been a Chicago Cubs team that certainly has been able to do a nice job of hammering the ball with Pete Armstrong, 25-plus home runs, 380 on base, leading the charge for a Cubs team that's averaging 5.2 runs per game. That is second in all of baseball. And I know the Cardinals were shut out yesterday, but they're still averaging 5 runs per game away from them. That is a top 4 mark in all of baseball. Additionally, for the Chicago Cubs, you do have quite a few guys that they get on base despite not having great averages. Like Ian Happ, for example, is hitting less than a 225, but his on-base percentage is about 100 points higher. He's been able to give you 18-plus home runs. Michael Busch is hitting below a 250, but that on-base percentage is in the neighborhood of a 360. Seiya Suzuki, I see you with 21 home runs thus far this season. Batting average is solid at 273, but again, higher 363 on base out of him. And then for the Cardinals, you've got a lot of guys that have been able to do a solid job for this unit. Jordan Walker leading the way with 23 home runs, hitting about a 280. And then J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, Ivan Herrera, all between about a 349 to a 358 on base. Burleson has worked his way up to 19 home runs this season. Now, at the bottom of the fold, you're going to need a little bit more of some of these guys like a Nathan Church. I know that they're looking to the young guy in Cesar Perito, who's hitting a 0.32. I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that he's going to hit a little bit better moving forward, but someone like Brian Torres need a little bit more there. And it is a Cardinals team that has been shaky in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. The likes of a Ryan Stanek give you an ERA above a 440 has been a bit of an issue. Goran Gaseffo, George Soriano, these are guys that have a sub 365 ERA, and Riley O'Brien has been solid at the closer's role, but they did trade away Jojo Romero at the trade deadline as well, so you have a few issues there. And for the Chicago Cubs, even though they did bring in some reinforcements at the trade deadline, bringing in Ryan Zeffrey on, you still have like half this bullpen injured, like Hobie Milner, Daniel Palencia. These are two guys, they're on the injury list. They've been without Porter Hodge for the entirety of the season. With Jacob Webb, Trent Thornton, these two guys have been very solid. Sub 3 ERA, Brian Rolson, like what I'm seeing out of him as well. But that said, I do think that the Cardinals are going to be able to catch up to Boyd, and with the wind blowing out, I set a total of 10.7, so I'm going to be in on the over, and at a plus 155 or better, looking at the Cardinals on the money line. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Rockies. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Giants. Logan Webb goes for the Giants, and Michael Lorenzen is on the bump for the Rockies, and the Rockies are a Rocky-style underdog as they are plus 155 to a plus 165, and between minus 170 to minus 190. That is your number on San Francisco. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even. I like the over. I did semi-tall it at 8.4. It is a Rockies team that is hitting much better away from home than they have in the past. Typically, they'd be like a bottom 3, bottom 4 team in terms of run creation, and no doubt they still have some home and road splits, but at the same time, they're still giving you like a respectable 4.4 runs per game. That's a little bit of a hair below league average, but you know what? It's passable, especially with Hunter Goodman being a good man, giving you 34 plus home runs. He's done a tremendous job for this unit, and additionally, got a lot of guys that have just found a way to be able to move the line, get on base. TJ Romfield is hitting just below 300. Jake McCarthy hitting a hair above a 300. And McCarthy, Romfield, Willie Castro, all up to 13 home runs this season. Mickey Moniak has now been able to give you 19 bombs as well. Now, you did notice that Hunter Goodman was out of the starting lineup yesterday. Should be back in there. That was just a little bit more of a rest and maintenance. Need a little bit more of the likes of Ezekiel Tovar at the bottom of the fold, but someone like Troy Johnson has been able to about a 285, and then for the Giants, they've been able to get their offense going as well. Rafael Devers now hitting for 24 home runs. Willie Adames did go out of the lineup yesterday. He's day-to-day, probably going to be out for this game, but still, you've been able to get really good production out of Osvaldo Bosby. Hopefully I got that correct. Young guy who's got 3 home runs in less than 50 at-bats. You're getting Victor Barracoto off the injury list. Bryce Aldrich has been able to move the line, and then you've been able to get good production out of Jungle Lee, who's hitting nearly at 290 for the Giants. Bullpen has been a little bit more shaky, but you shouldn't need to go to it too much. Logan Webb in his last start was able to go 8 innings, and for his career, Logan Webb has always been significantly better at home rather than away from home. For the entirety of his career, Logan Webb about 0.46 home runs per 9 innings allowed, 293 ERA compared to a 391 ERA away from home. And for Webb, overall for the season, he's posting up an ERA as a 359 and a career low 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 275 ERA in his last 13 starts. And then for Michael Lorenzen, 1.4 home runs, runs, 3.7 walks per 9 innings, 6.83 ERA. So he's been pretty awful there. And for this Rockies bullpen, well, they are dead last in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. Jaden Hill, Juan Mejia, guys like this, all posting up north of a 4.50 ERA. Jimmy Harrigan just has not been good this far this season, like what I'm seeing out of Brendan Bernardino. And Jordan Romano in a Rockies uniform hasn't been awful. I think that regresses a little bit. So circumstance where I do like the over, somebody told it at 8.4. So the Giants here at a minus 232. I'm willing to lay a number on the run line, and you're actually getting plus money on the run line right now, seeing that like a plus 115, plus 125 even. I'll take the plus money run line to go along with this total to the over. 905, 906 on the card. It is the Nationals. They are going to be on the road against the Mets. Sean Manaea goes for the Mets. It is old to be determined who is on the bump for the Washington Nationals. So this is a game that is totally off the board. Right now they are projecting Brad Lord for the start on Fangraphs. I just labeled this as bullpen game. And when it comes to the Mets, I did set them as a minus 154 favorite. We'll go up to a minus 153, plus 155 or better. And on the Nationals, total of an 8.7. 8.5 or less like the over, a 9 or higher to the under. Sean Manaea has not necessarily been the sharpest guy in the world for this team, as right now he's supplying a 4.13 ERA, the fielding independent, more around a 4.14, so very much in line with that. 1.2 home runs, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's not like he's really been any better when he has been at home rather than away from home, despite the fact that New York is a little bit of a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Matter of fact, the ERA goes up to a 4.20 when he's at home, and Brad Lord should be contributing to this game. I don't doubt that, but you're probably not going to get a lot of length out of him because, for one, he's coming off the injury list, too. In his last start, he went 2 2/3 innings, so he really hasn't gotten much more than like 3, maybe 4 innings in an appearance this year. 29 total appearances, 61 2/3 innings. So I think he's good for 3. Might get 4 if you're really lucky. Overall, a 3.79 ERA, 4.05 fielding dependent, and is backed up by a Nationals bullpen that is second worst in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. These mix and match guys just have not been good in the bullpen. Like Orlando Robalta, Clayton Beater have been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, so a little bit of promise there, but Jake Bird has been absolutely awful. Will Dion, he's a roll the dice sort of guy. Tom Cosgrove, Yvonne Cruz, you really don't have a lot of trustworthiness, and Trevor Williams just looks washed at this point. And for the Washington Nationals, they're dealing with the injury to James Wood, 30 home runs, 393 on base, but he's been out the last week and a half or so. CJ Abrams, though, he is in the top 3 in the National League in terms of home runs since the All-Star break, 357 on base, 29 home runs. He's been great. Nassim Nunez is now getting you 40 stolen bases, and after Abrams with having Wood out of the fold, yes, the power drops, but you do have someone like a Jacob Young, double-figure amount of homers sitting at 250, Dallin Lyle hitting at 250, 15 home runs, and on the flip side for the New York Mets, without Juan Soto in the fold, they're averaging darn near 5 runs per game. Now, it's starting to regress a little bit after it was super hot about a week or so ago, but I know these guys are starting to step up a little bit. Carson Bench is hitting about a 275 with 13 home runs. Francisco Alvarez, Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien between 12 and 14 home runs now. Semien about a 269 on base. That's not great to say the least, but Alvarez about a 340 on base. AJ Ewan has been able to move the line a little bit for the team as well, and for the Mets, this is a pretty gutted bullpen. You trade away all your pieces at the deadline, so Jeffrey Yon, Dan Duarte are now your trustworthy relievers, not a place where you want to be, and even Devin Williams is on the injury list, so minus 153 or better looking at the Mets, plus 155 or better the Nationals, 8.5 or less. I'm going to be in on the over, 9 or higher the under. 907, 908 on the card. It is the Marlins. They are going to be on the road against the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. Who's on to Brady Singer getting the start for them, and Ryan Gusso. Yes, may Gusso to another start for him. For the Marlins, they are between minus 105 to even money, minus 110 to minus 115. For the Reds, 9 to 9.5. It's a total on the 9. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And on the 9.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even money. And when it comes to the Marlins, I did set them at plus 132. I know that Brady Singer overall for the season doesn't necessarily have the world's greatest numbers, but he has been significantly better recently. For Mr. Singer, right now he is supplying an ERA that is a 4.66 with 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 11 out of his last 13 starts. And for this Miami Marlins team, they have just not been able to get anything going ever since the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break entering into the series, a nice hearty 10-15 record, and in their first 25 games since the All-Star break, they have been averaging fewer than 4 runs per game. That's actually dead last in the National League in terms of run creation since the All-Star break, so that's not great to say the least, and they just don't have a lot of power. You trade away Liam Hicks, and for Hicks, he was giving the team 14 plus home runs, and he was doing a solid job moving the line. Now they still have a lot of guys who are able to steal bases. You've got a Seri Ruiz, Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, Jacob Marcy, who have all been able to give you at least 18 stolen bases, but Marcy is hitting right around about the Mendoza line 200. You still have Otto Lopez hitting above 300, so he's been able to do a pretty rock solid job there. That said, you just don't have a lot of boom with this team, especially with dealing with the injury to Kyle Sowers. He's been injured all season long. Griffin Conine, he's been able to give you a home run every 13 to 14 at-bats. He's hitting about a 275. Javier Sanja has been able to move line, but these guys like Graham Pauly and company at the bottom fold are rough, and Owen Casey less than a 290 on base. Overall for the season, the Miami Marlins bullpen has been relatively solid, but they're 11-plus games below 500 away from home because they have been seeing their ERA raised by more than a full point when they are away from home, as you've got a lot of guys that are supplying an ERA well above a 350, as it's been a brutal season for Victor Vodnik, Calvin Fauché, Cade Gibson, a lot of guys posting up an ERA above a 4. Pete Fairbanks has been absolutely awful. I do like Josh Ekines. He, along with John King, have been able to supply a sub-350 ERA. Now for the Reds, they themselves have been very brutal with their bullpen, as you've been able to have Brock and Roll Burke, along with TJ Antone, be able to give you a sub-350 ERA, but Pierce Johnson, well above a 450 ERA. Sam Moll's been seeing his ERA above a 4, Lewis May as well. And then for the Cincinnati Reds, you've got a lineup that has been in the bottom 10 of the big leagues in terms of run creation. They're only averaging about 4 runs per game at home, but they do have some power with J.J. Bleday, along with Ellie De La Cruz, 20-plus home runs. Bleday only about a 218 average, but closer to 335 on base. Same for Sal Stewart with a 335 on base. It's more like a 260, 25-plus home runs. They're trying to mix and match at the bottom flow with the likes of Navoli Marte, TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, only a 205 or lower, and Eugenio Suarez also hitting like a 205. So it is an interesting circumstance with Ryan Gusto. He's not a guy that is posting up a great ERA. It's hovering right around about a 478 or so, but the fielding dependent does point towards a little bit of positivity. 390 fielding dependent, 1.1 home runs, less than 3 walks per 9 innings. So I do think that you stay under. Somebody sold it at 8.9. And for the Reds, one delay up to minus 131 on the money line. 909, 910 on the card. It is the Diamondbacks. They are going to be on the road against the Braves. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Snakes, and you've got Grant Holmes going for the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are minus 134 to minus 142 favorites, plus 114 to plus 125 is that number on Arizona. 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9.5, under is minus 120, the over is even, and on the 9, over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And for Eduardo Rodriguez and the Snakes, I'd set them at a plus 141, so we'll delay up to a minus 140 here with the Atlanta Braves. For Grant Holmes, it has been a, shall we say, up and down season for him, but even though he should be doing for a lot of regression, it just really hasn't come quite yet, as he's got a 3.47 ERA, about a 43 fielding dependent, 1.4 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but he's coming in really good form. 300 runs or fewer allowed in each out of his last 5 starts, a total of 9 runs in those last 5 starts, so he's done a nice job holding down the fort. And for Eduardo Rodriguez, this guy's been way overdue for regression. 270 ERA, 383 fielding dependent. Strikeout stuff is starting to go up a little bit, but 6.3 strikeouts at 3 walks per 9 innings. 4 strikeouts or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts, yet somehow, someway, he's just continuing to get out of jams. I have no idea how or why, but he's been able to do so, and it has been an Arizona Diamondbacks team that's been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home, not hitting as many homers as they have in the past. Do have Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, who's been able to supply 21 home runs, hitting about a 250, and then 18 home runs apiece for Corbin Carroll, Norland Arenado, both hitting about a 240, a little bit more on base out of Carroll, but do have Geraldo Perdomo give you about a 350 on base. Gabriel Moreno, he's hitting about a 300. Iliomar Vargas is moving line. Just see more on some of these guys like Tim Tewa, Ore Barosa, and company at the bottom fold. And for the Atlanta Braves, this is a top 7 team in terms of run creation. 35 home runs out of Matt Olson is big, and Ronald Acuna Jr. does seem to be returning to form. These mix and match guys like Michael Harris, Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, they've all done a nice job moving line. And for Harris, more than just a mix and match guy, he and Ozzy Albies are giving you 20 home runs. Drake Baldwin, 20 bombs as well. A little bit cold over the last few weeks, but still is giving you over a 350 on base. And when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, they have been number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. The Dillons still in lead. Dylan Dodd have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. DDA Fuentes has found a home in this bullpen. Tyler Kinley has been a little bit hit or miss, but they've done a nice job holding it down there. And for the Diamondbacks, DFAing Paul Sewald, I think that was a very good move. Kevin Ginkel has been a little bit hit or miss for this bullpen, but you do have these guys I really like a Gerard Carrillo, along with a Braden Garcia, Juan Maria, a lot of guys that will be able to give you a sub-325 ERA. So, circumstance where I'm going to be in on this total to the under. I did somebody tell it at 8.9, and for the Braves, we'll delay up to minus 140 on the money line. 9, 11, 9, 12 on the card. It is the Brewers. They are going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers. Justin Robelski is on the bump for the Dodgers, and the Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, is on the bump for the Brewers. Brewers are between a minus 134 to a minus 142 favorites, plus 124 to a plus 118 is that number on the Dodgers. 7.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. set the Brewers here at a minus 135, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line here. For Justin Robelski, he has been pitching to a lot of contact, so I am a little bit fearful that we are going to be seeing some regression with him. He does a really good job in terms of not hurting himself with the command, as he's only giving out 2 walks per 9 innings, but 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings with only 7 strikeouts per 9, 3.44 ERA and a 4.13 fielding independent. That has to have you very worried. And then for Jacob Mizorowski, of course, he has been just absolutely dynamic here for the Brewers this far this season. He's coming off of giving up a pair of homers in his last start, and he has given up 6 home runs in his last 5 starts, something that you do want to note. But so 176 ERA, 13.8 strikeouts at 2 walks per 9 innings. He has been absolutely superb, and he now goes up against one of the most superb lineups in all of baseball. For the LA Dodgers, they're a top 5 team in terms of run creation. Brewers are in the top 6 as well, with the Brewers really doing it via just mixing and matching a whole bunch of small balls. Jake Bauers right now leads away with 21 home runs, about a 370 on base, but Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terang, 16 home runs apiece. Both of these guys have been able to above a 265. They haven't even really gotten anything out of Christian Yelich as far this season, but they've been able to get good production out of Cooper Pratt when he's been out there now. Looks like he's going to be hitting the injury list, so they're probably going to be needing someone like a Joey Ortiz or a Luis Lara to be able to step up a little bit in his absence. But Garrett Mitchell, he's been able to do a nice job moving the line, give you about a 350 on base, and William Contreras gets on as well. For the Brewers, this is a top 6 team in terms of bullpen areas. Well, Abner Uribe, DL Turner Hall, Trevor McGill, I'll give you sub 350 ERA. Antonio Senzatella is really starting to regress, and Aaron Ashby has been a little bit up and down recently, but on the flip side, you do have a Dodgers team that they've been leaking a little bit of oil with that bullpen as well. You do have likes of Jack Dreyer, Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, who've all been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but we saw Edwin Diaz blow that game on Thursday, and he has not been good this far this season since coming off the injury list. Has been up, down all around for him. You're still dealing with a few injuries, the like of Blake Trinan, Brock Stewart and company. And for the Dodgers, no doubt Shohei Ohtani just continues to be rock solid for the team. He's up to 27 home runs at a 390 on base. And then after that, you've been able to get good production out of Andy Paz, 19 home runs, hitting about a 270. Freddie Freeman, he's hitting a 300 with 15 bombs. Mookie Betts, ever since that really rough start to the season, he's looking more like the guy that we all know and love. Max Muncy is up to 23 home runs as well. So I do think that Mizorowski is going to give up a few runs, but I do think that the Brewers get to Robelski. One to lay up to minus 134 with the Brewers on the money line, and like the over, so I might total it at 8.3. 9:13, 9:14 on the card. It is the White Sox. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Tigers as Troy Melton goes for the Tigres, and you got Anthony Kay saying okay to another start, and for the White Sox, you're getting them anywhere between plus 120 to a plus 130. Minus 140 to minus 152 is that number on Detroit. 8 is the total. Over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I'm a little late here with the Tigers, set them at a minus 142. Anthony Kay has actually been really good here over the last month or so. He has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer at each out of his last 6 starts. 396 ERA and a 480 fielding independent though. Still has not gotten a lot of swing and miss with 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. 3.3 walks per 9 innings has me a little bit off put as well. So I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression due here. And for Troy Melton, there's just no way he's going to continue the sub 2 ERA. Like, he's at a 146 ERA despite a fielding independent of a 363. He's been one of the luckiest pitchers in all of baseball. He's only getting 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, it has been better recently. He has been able to get at least 5 strikeouts in pretty much like all but 2 out of his last 8 starts, so he's been able to do a better job there, but man, he's really playing with fire, and he's given up multiple walks in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. I'm just not seeing it, and additionally with the Tigers, they've been able to really upgrade their offense with getting Javi Baez along with Gleyber Torres off of the injury list. These are 2 guys that do a nice job moving line. Additionally, Dylan Dingler, 25 plus home runs. He's hitting at 265. Kevin McGonigal's up to a 390 on base. You've been able to get good production out of Valencia, the DH, who's been giving you over a 400 on base. Now you still need more other guys like Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry and company, but with all the guys that they brought back from injury, they're able to really relegate that. And Max Clark has been solid since they called him up. Flip side for the Chicago White Sox, you're just getting a whole bunch of production out of Miguel Vargas, Colson Montgomery, and Mataka Murakami, 23 plus home runs apiece. Murakami's up to a 370 on base now. For Colson Montgomery, about a 292 on base. You need a little bit more there, but Sam Antonacci, he's been able to give you about a 370 on base. Chase Meadroth, about a 355 on base. And for the White Sox, since June 1st, this team has been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen area. Now, a little bit of a mix and match game with having to start Sean Newcomb yesterday, but Even Jordan Hicks is down below a 3.75 ERA. You've had Grant Taylor, Oscar Brisbane, Brian Hudson all be able to fly a sub 3.25 ERA. And for the Detroit Tigers, all of a sudden, this is a bunch that has been much better with their bullpen. Top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, as Jacob McGee's back, Tyler Holden have been really keys for this team. Sub 3.25 ERA. Kyle Finnegan more around about a 3.50 ERA. He's been regressing a little bit, but Ty Mann's a good long guy. Kenley Jansen has actually been halfway decent for this team. So interesting circumstance here. I do think that both of these starters experience regression. I like the over semi-total at 8.6, and with the Tigers pulling to lay up to minus 141 on the money line. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the Blue Jays, and we do know that Cam Schlittler is going to be on the bump for the Yankees, and it's currently listed as to be determined for Toronto. This is a game that is presently off the board. Right now, Fangraphs is projecting Simeon Woods Richardson, so might be mix and match between him and Jameson Taillon. Should be relatively a wholesale approach game, and thinking that that is going to be the case. Set the Yankees at a minus 168, willing to lay up to a minus 167 there, and willing to go up to a minus 107 on that run line as well. Plus 169 or better, looking at the Jays, and then made a 12 and 8.1, 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 for higher, the under. Now for Cam Schlittler, this guy has been absolutely magnificent when he's been away from home, so you're going to need a minimal amount of runs for the Yankees to be able to cover the run line, because for Cam Schlittler, overall for the season, he's no doubt been great. He's right now supplying a 2.21 ERA, 1.2 strikeouts, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but you want to hear how it gets even better with regards to his road numbers. 1.10 ERA, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He has just been absolutely magnificent. That compares to a 3.95 ERA at home. And then on the other end of things, if you do get Woods Richardson, he came in long relief a few days ago for Jameson Taillon, and he was okay. This will be his first time pitching in about 5 or so days. With the Blue Jays, he actually has a 0.69 ERA across 13 innings. It's a small sample size, but hey, he's been a little bit better there. And then if you do get Jameson Taillon, he is giving up over 2.5 home runs per 9 innings. Not great. Woods Richardson is actually a little bit of an upgrade here to Jameson Taillon, if you want me to be honest with you, but neither of these guys are great. I do think that Spencer Miles might be contributing to this, as well as he has spent a little bit of time as a starter. He's been able to play a sub 3.50 ERA. Now you do have Brandon Little on the paternity list, so it's going to be a little bit of a short-handed team, but Mason Flaherty's been able to give you a sub 4.50 ERA. If you could get to Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland, both of these guys have been able to supply an ERA that is below a 2.50. Big issue for the Blue Jays. They are averaging less than 4 runs per game. That is a bottom 4 mark in all of baseball. Been able to get some good production out of Kazuma Okamoto with the power. He's been able to give you 24 home runs, but outside of that, you don't have anyone else on the roster with more than 12 entering into the series. Have Nathan Lukes, Flagger Jr., Alejandro Kirk, Jesus Sanchez, all between about 262, 270, but now it's a little bit mix and match with McAdoo out there in the outfield, Brett Bateman. They're looking for anyone to be able to just give this team a bit of a spark, and then for the Yankees, you've had Ben Rice be able to supply 32 home runs. He has been magnificent with about a 340 to a 350 on base. Luis Garcia, 24 home runs going back to his time with the Washington Nationals, but the bottom of the fold with Ryan McMahon, Jazz Chisholm, Austin Wells, Trent Grisham, only below 225 is an issue. Eloy Ramos is not necessarily an on-base guy that only has 9 home runs thus far this season, but that Yankees bullpen, it has been absolutely remarkable, as they've got so many guys like Brent Hedrick, Paul Blackburn, Fernando Cruz, David Benar, who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. They're now getting Yuri De Los Santos back as well, so I do think that they go out there and dominate this game. One to lay up to a minus 107 with the Yankees run line, minus 167 or better on the money line. Need at least a plus 169 on the Blue Jays, and then 8 or less like the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. 9:17, 9:18 on the card. It is the Rays. They're going to be playing us to the Orioles, as Kyle Bradish is going for the Orioles. Ian Seymour for the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays are minus 135 to minus 150 favorites, plus 116 to plus 133. That number on Baltimore, 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 120. The over is even money. I did set this at a plus 134, and I think when it's all said and done, we should be able to get a plus 135 here. That will put me in on the Baltimore Orioles on the money line. For Ian Seymour, he has been quite good thus far this season. He's getting over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I truly believe that he's better than the ERA would indicate. The ERA is currently a hair above a 4, hovering right in that neighborhood about a 4.08, but that said, he has been a little bit up and down with regards to giving up the hard contact, giving up 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. And on the flip side, for Kyle Bradish, the command, it does need to be much better for him, but still, he's been able to do a nice job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, not giving up too much of the deep ball, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings allowed, 8.6 strikeouts, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, and has really turned the corner, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. The swing and miss stuff has been down, but honestly, the earned runs have also been down as well. It's a Rays lineup that you've got 3 guys that really do a nice job in terms of giving you some oomph Obviously, Junior Caminero being the main guy, 35 home runs over a 365 on base. And then Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, both have 15-plus home runs, both between a 365 to a 375 on base. Liam Hicks is up to 16 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base. Cedric Mullins, not a lot of average, but he's been able to hit for a little bit of power. Nick Fortes has done a nice job moving the line. And then for the Baltimore Orioles, Pete Alonso starting to live up to that contract. 26 home runs over a 340 on base. Jackson Holliday's moving the line as well. You do need more of these guys like Leody Taveras, Gunnar Henderson, Kobe Mayo, Colton Cowser, Carlos Narvaez, so many guys sitting at 225 or lower. Now, Mayo's been able to give you 15 home runs, but these guys really don't draw a lot of walks as well. After a nice start for Christian Encarnacion Strand, he's cooled down a little bit as well. But for the Orioles, this has been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. You've had Andrew Kittredge really rounding into form. Still have some question marks with the likes of Alex Hoppe, Cam Sanders, and I don't trust in Grant Wolfram, but Uncle Rico Garcia along with Yunier Cano, these are two guys giving you a sub 365 ERA. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, has been a little bit up and down with that bullpen this season as they actually pick up Tyler Wells from the Baltimore Orioles, and you have another former Oriole, Brian Baker, has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Kevin Kelly has been rock solid for the team. Cam Boozer doing a nice job holding down the fort. So interesting circumstance here. Plus 135 or better puts me in on the Orioles on the money line, and I did set my total at a 7.8. So do like this 7.5 to the over 919, 920 on the card. It is the Seattle Mariners. They're going to be on the road against the Houston Astros. Hayden Wieseski goes for the Astros, and Emerson Hancock for Seattle. Seattle's an underdog of between even money to plus 105. Minus 118 to minus 125 for Houston. 8.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110. Set the Mariners at a minus 104. I'm going to be taking a shot on them on the money line. I just still am not ready to trust in Hayden Wieseski quite yet. Maybe that's just a me problem, but he's made, I believe, now 10 starts since becoming a member of the Houston Astros, and he's posting up a 4.26 ERA and a 4.63 fielding independent overall. He's been just giving up a little bit too much of the deep ball, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. This season, it's a small sample size of 3 starts, but only about 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Emerson Hancock, he's been solid here for the Seattle Mariners. A 3.35 ERA, 3.73 fielding independent, only giving up about 2.2 walks to 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in each of his last 5 starts. So he's been able to do a nice job holding down the fort, and he faces off against an Astros team that, no doubt, the top of the lineup has been absolutely amazing for this team. Got Yordan Alvarez giving you over 35 home runs and north of a 430 on base. Additionally, Jeremy Pena, he's been able to just a hair below a 300. He's been able to give you 13 home runs. Isaac Paredes up around about a 350 on base. He's been able to give you about 15 home runs as well, but it's the bottom of the full. Dalton Varsho has really not hit for a lot. He's hitting about a 235, and then you got these guys like Zach DeZenzo, Lamont Wade Jr., Cam Smith, Jake Myers. Go down the list of guys hitting a 230 or lower. Joey Looper Fido is right now dealing with injury. Taylor Trammell's just above that with the 235. Recognize that Smith has 16 home runs, but still not a lot of on base there. And then when you have out there Yunier Diaz, he does hit for over a 250, but no on base whatsoever. Now for the Astros, top 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Stephen Okert, Bennett Sosa been able to give you a sub 335 ERA. Brian King has been a little bit up and down, but he and Brian Abreu seem to be rounding into form. Josh Hader has been absolutely magnificent for this bullpen, and for Seattle, they have been a little bit banged up with regards to the bullpen, dealing with the injuries to Matt Brash along with Cooper Criswell, but Andres Munoz since the middle of June has given up like 2 earned runs. He has been magnificent for this team. Gabe Spire, Jose Ferrer, both a sub 350 ERA. Now I have absolutely no faith whatsoever in Sir Anthony Dominguez. I think that that's actually a downgrade for this bullpen, but you know what, these mix and match guys like a Nick Davia have been relatively solid as well. Overall for the season, I know that's gone downward a little bit, but Seattle Mariners 12th in terms of bullpen ERA. So circumstance where I'm going to be one trust in the Mariners on the money line, set them at a minus 104. Even with the offense being dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation, which is a big reason why I did set a total of an 8.3 to the under, as Cal Raleigh, big dumper, well, he's taking a big dump. He's hitting less than $1.75 this year, but Julio Rodriguez has now been able to give you 19 home runs. He's hitting for about a 325 on base, and then you've got 19 home runs out of Dom Canzone, who's been able to about a 250. You've had Randy Arozarena supply a 370 on base. He's up to 16 home runs. Luke Raley's dealing with injury. He and Cole Young between 14 to 15 home runs apiece. I think that's enough for the Mariners to get the job done. Taking them on the money line, and I'm going to be in on this total to the under. 921, 922 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Angels as Reed Detmers goes for the Alos. Arendi Dobrik is on the bump for the Royals, and the Royals do find themselves as a underdog here of between plus 129 to a plus 135. Meanwhile, minus 145 to minus 158 is that number on Los Angeles. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 120, the under is even. On the 8.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even money. I'm actually going to take the over here. I set my total at a 8.6 for the Angels and the Royals. Rough bullpens. The Angels' bullpen ERA since June 1st is honestly not bad, but do have to have some issues there. Now, Sammy Natera, Jose Fermin, sub 350 ERA, and Ben Joyce coming back off the injury list. That should be all help them out. You still always have to have questions with these guys, and for the Royals, man, they've been really bad with the bullpen. Dead last in the American League in terms of bullpen ERA, the likes of Steven Cruz, Lucas Hurtage, Alex Lang, all supplying an ERA above a 4. Nate Pearson is a guy that I like. He's been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. John Schreiber might be able to give you a few okay innings, but man, just not good to say the least. Now they're having to trot out their Daniel Lynch as a starter, and for the Royals, it is a case of something's got to give because they are last in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Jack Aglione is up to 21 home runs, hitting about a 270, and then we've seen Bobby Witt Jr. swipe over 30 bags, 355 on base. He's been very rock solid for the team. Carter Jensen, Salvador Perez, 16 home runs apiece, but neither guy's hitting above a 225. Neither guy's giving you above a 300 on base. Perez has been a little bit better here in the second half of the season, but still, question marks there. You deal away Lane Thomas. You've had Kyle Isbell be in and out of the fold. Nick Lofton has not necessarily been great, so lots of question marks there. But for Randy Dominic, holy crud, I have no idea how he's got the ERA that he does right now, because for Randy Dominic, he is getting no strikeouts whatsoever. He doesn't even necessarily have great command. Right now, he's got a 2 ERA with a fielding independent of a 391. He is giving up only a half home run per 9 innings, but 4.8 strikeouts at 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Just hilariously low numbers there. Finally experienced a little bit of regression at home against the Cubs, giving up 4 runs in 5 innings, but I have no idea how Houdini knows his way out of this. And I do think that Reed Detmers is going to be able to give you a nice start. The 4 ERA is a little bit deceiving in my opinion. The fielding independent is more around about a 345 as he's been able to supply this team with 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Again, the bullpen is a little bit shaky, and for the Angels post All-Star break, they entered into the series averaging less than 3 runs per game. It's been absolutely atrocious with that regard. I think there's a little bit of positivity to them for them. They are still last in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, but you do have Zach Neto along with Mike Trout, who have both been able to supply you with 20 plus home runs apiece. For Trout only hitting at 245, but over a 380 on base, and then Wade Meckler's hitting a 300. Nolan Schuno moves the line with about a 350 or so on base, likes of Josh Lowe, Moises Ballesteros, and company at the bottom of the fold. And it's not been great to say the least, but I do think that the Angels find a way to be able to get the job done here. Set them at a minus 148, like the money line, and like the over, so I might tell it at 8.6. 9:23 and 9:24 on the card, though. Rangers are going to be on the road against the Athletics as JT Gin and Juice is on the bump for the Athletics, and Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored here for the Rangers. And the Rangers, who find themselves as a pretty good-sized favorite here, going to be laying with them anywhere between minus 130 to minus 146, plus 110 to plus 124 is the number on the Athletics. 9.5 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and I'm willing to lay with the Rangers. Set them at a minus 136. For Mackenzie Gore, do be mindful that he has got some very demonstrative home and road splits. Overall, you should be doing for a lot of positivity as his ERA is a 4.43, but a 3.74 fielding independent, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, but it feels like all of his struggles have come away from home this far this season. Home ERA of a 3.27 at home. He's given up relatively the same amount of home runs per 9 as he is away from home, but a 5.48 ERA when he has been away from home, so all sorts of issues there. But for this Athletics team, man, it has not went well for them recently. Having won 9 out of their last 45 games entering into yesterday, and for JT Ginn, he's been one of the few bright spots for the team. 3.41 ERA, 4.22 fielding independent, does give up 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but he's only been giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, and he's one of the lone guys on the roster that actually pitches halfway okay out there in Sacramento. In Sacramento, a 3.31 ERA compared to a 3.49 ERA away from home. So many of these guys for the Athletics have a very demonstrative home and road splits, and for the Athletics, my goodness gracious, in over 6.75 bullpen ERA since June 1st. Hogan Harris has been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. That's good, but now Justin Sterner is going to be done for the rest of the season. That hurts this bullpen. You've had Luis Medina be able to supply you with a 4 ERA, so yay verily there, but Elvis Alvarado, Seth Johnson, throw in there Jose Suarez, who it looks like he might be hitting the injury list as well. So many guys are giving over a 4 ERA. Young guys in the farm system are not doing any better. Brady Basso is awful. Drew Rom is awful. Like, man, not good to say the least. And for the Athletics, they're dealing with quite a few injuries with that lineup, as well as having Nick Kurtz, along with Shea Langoliers, the fold has really hurt this team. Now, you do have Henry Bolte, who's been able to get hit above a 250, was going through a little bit of a slump a few weeks ago. Does look like he's returning back to form. A little bit Carlos Cortez has been able to give you about a 340 on base, and Tyler Soderstrom, since June 1st, over a 380 on base. He's up to 19 home runs. He and Zach Kaloff, the lone two guys right now healthy, are give you 11 plus home runs. Meanwhile, for the Rangers, they have been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, but you're starting to get a little bit more out of some of these guys, as you've got Brandon Nimmo, along with Ezekiel Duran, don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna, all give you at least a 335 on base. Jake Berger, not a lot of on base, but 19 home runs. And then Jock Peterson, 22 home runs. He's made us fly about a 350 on base. Was out of the starting lineup yesterday, but I think that was a little bit more precautionary than anything else. And for the Rangers, it is a bullpen that has fallen on some tough times ever since June 1st. They've been in the bottom 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Cole Winn, Robbie Elstrom, a pair of guys have given you an ERA that is well above a 450, but that said, you've got Tyler Alexander, Jacob Latz, Chase Silseth. These guys will be able to give you a sub 375 ERA. Should be good enough to be able to get the job done, and I do think they get some scoring. Like the over, so by total 9.7, 1 to minus 135 on the Rangers money line. 925, 926 on the card. The Padres are going to be on the road against the Guardians as Joey Cantillo goes for the Guardians, and it's expected to be Randy Vasquez in some form or capacity for the Padres, but right now he is not listed as the starter, so this is a game that's off the board, but I've got my handicap. I'm going to lay up to minus 134 on the Guardians, plus 136 or better in on the Padres, and then I made a total of an 8.2, 8 or less, like the over, 8.5 or higher. The under, and for the Guardians, Joey Cantillo has had his command issues, but he does get quite a bit of swing and miss, which is something that is huge for Joey Cantillo overall for the season, about a 391 ERA. Fielding dependent, relatively in line with that with a 396. Again, the 4.2 walks per 9 innings are an issue, but he has been able to get 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has been just all over the place recently. He's been the victim of a lot of unearned runs. Like, he's given up 4+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, but a lot of those have been unearned runs as well. And for Cantillo, you take a look at the home and road splits that he's put together thus far this season, and he's been relatively equal at home rather than away from home, but at home, he's giving up only about 1 home run per 9 innings. On the flip side, if you do indeed get Randy Vasquez, which you should in some form or capacity, like you might have a little bit of JP Sears, Griffin Canning, mix and match guys along the way, but he's actually been relatively solid recently, not going to give you a lot of strikeouts with 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4.16 ERA, 4.67 fielding dependent, has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 total appearances, so he comes in good form, and this is a Padres bullpen that continues to be absolutely rock solid, top 3 bunch in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League, as Mason Miller, Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, they're all give you a sub 350 ERA. Audrey Motorhone has been a really good long guy, even with Jason Adams on the injury list. They've been able to do a nice job in terms of persevering, and for the Padres, since the All-Star break, they've been averaging 5+ runs per game. Fernando Tatis Jr. over a 355 on base, had just 5 home runs prior to the All-Star break, 7 since the All-Star break going into yesterday. You're getting back Luis Campusano, who's really been able to shore up the catcher spot, hitting above a 300. Luis Rengifo has actually been able to give you a little bit of something as well. Ty France, 16 plus home runs. He's been hitting at 300. Manny Machado, overall for the season, just a 212 average, but he's been much better since the All-Star break. And Jackson Merrill, ever since the All-Star break, hitting well above 300. And for the Guardians, this is still a bottom 5 offense in terms of run creation. A little bit better with Joe Adell being able to give you 16 plus home runs. And I know that Genoa, who's been playing at the third base spot, he's been hitting darn near 300 as well. Stephen Kwan has picked it up, giving you about a 365 on base. You've got Jose Ramirez back, but he really has been himself this season, and he was out the starting lineup yesterday, so I have to wonder if there's something going on there, but it is a Guardians team that they themselves have been very rock solid with their bullpen as well. A top 12 team in terms of bullpen ERA for the season. Now, Craig Yoho has seen his ERA go northward, but Colin Olderman, along with Hunter Gaddis, Eric Sabrowski, a bunch of guys give you a sub 375 ERA. Kate Smith has been a really good closer as well, and I do think that Randy Vasquez starts to see a little bit of regression here. So minus 134 or better, looking at the Guardians, plus 136 or better. The Padres, 8 or less, and on the over, 8.5 or higher. The under, 927, 928 on the card. The Phillies are going to be on the road against the Twins, as Connor Prielipp goes for the Twins, and Mr. Jesus Luzardo goes for the Phillies. And the Phillies are finding themselves as a favorite here of anywhere between minus 143 to a minus 156, plus 124 to a plus 133. That number on Minnesota. Total on this game, it is 8. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and we can get to a plus 135, which we should be able to with the Twins at places like Culshi. I'm already seeing a plus 138 out there. I'm going to be in on the Twins on the money line. For Jesus Luzardo, it's a case where he has been really good in terms of swing and miss stuff, and I really do feel like he's better than what the ERA would indicate. Right now, I'll give you about a 332 ERA, fielding independent of a 282, about 11 strikeouts per 9 innings with only about 0.8 bombs per 9, so he has been able to really ascend there, but he is supported by a lineup that has been significantly worse when they have been away from home rather than at home. As a matter of fact, they entered into this game in the bottom 2 in the National League in terms of run creation away from home. Now, Kyle Schwarber, 37 Schwarber bombs this far this season. He has been absolutely magnificent. Bryce Harper, 25 plus home runs. He's been able to give you over 350 on base. And then you have to love the fact that you pick up Luis Arias, a guy that just gets on base, hitting above a 300. You've had Brandon Marsh be able to give you 16 plus home runs, but still, you have to have some question marks with the catcher spot. It's been all sorts of shaky there. The outfield has been a little bit hit or miss as well. And for the Minnesota Twins, they're finally getting back Byron Buxton. I know that he was not healthy the first time he came off the injury list. We'll see if he is this time around. 25 home runs, and he's really the heart and soul of a lineup that has been in the upper half of the American League in terms of run creation. You've had Josh Bell, Brooks Lee, both give you between 16 to 17 home runs apiece. With Bell, he's been hitting a little bit above a 255. Royce Lewis, since coming up from the minor league level as well, he has been much better. Not necessarily the massive power hitter that we were expecting, but still, 13 home runs. He's doing something there. You've got Trevor Lawrence give you about a 360 on base, and then you've had Lucas Shaw be able to give you 360 on base for the Twins overall for the season, bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen area, but much improved with the guys that they picked up at the trade deadline, as you've now got out there guys like Jeff Hoffman along with AJ Minter, but able to give you a sub-375 ERA. It's been a little bit mix and match with trying out some of these guys like a Justin Lawrence, who has not been great. Anthony Banda, Travis Adams, a lot of guys are posting up over a 450 ERA, but that said, it is a Phillies team that they themselves have their warts in their bullpen. They tried out Caleb Killian. He's now on the injury list. That's not been great. Yohan Duran continues to be really good in this bullpen, but now Orion Kirkring has become a little bit of an issue as well. His ERA has ascended to like a 380. When Zach Papa's been out there, he's been okay, but he's currently out of the fold for the team. Chase Sugar, Kyle Backus are posting up over a 450 ERA. I do like the fact that they got like another mix and match piece. You've got Jonathan Bolin, who's able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but man, it is a bullpen that it currently has a lot of issues outside of Yohan Duran, and I think that that could catch up to him a little bit in this spot. I do think that Connor Prelip, he himself has been much better than what the ERA would indicate right now. He's getting just a hair below 9.5 strikeouts for 9 innings. Spent quite a bit of time on the injury list, but he's been able to come back and has been able to look relatively okay since that injury list stint, giving up 300 runs or fewer in every one of his starts, 402 fielding dependent with that 479 ERA, giving up about 3.5 walks, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. I did set my total here at a 7.8, so at the 7.5, I do like the over, and for the Twins, at a plus 135 or better, I'm in on the money line. And with these two starting pitchers doing for positivity, like the under, set my total at 7.8, wrap things up with 929, 930. You've got the Red Sox on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates, as Jared Jones goes for the Buccos and Sonny Gray for the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox minus 115 to minus 126 favorites, even money to plus 105 on Pittsburgh. 7.5 is the total, over is minus 120, the under is even. Seeing a straight 8, under is minus 120, and the over is even. I set a 12 and 8.6. I do like the over. For the Pirates, averaging 5.4 runs per game at home this season, that's number one on all baseball. Does need to be recognized that they haven't been quite the same team ever since the All-Star break. Like post All-Star break, they've actually been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, with more like 4 runs per game overall since then. But still, I do think that they're going to be able to pick it up a little bit against a guy in Sonny Gray that, if you look at the overall season numbers, he has really been rock solid. He's been able to give you only about 1 home run, 2.5 walks allowed per 9 innings with a 279 ERA, but the 358 fielding dependent, that's a bit of an issue. The 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, lowest that he's had since the 2016 season. But Jared Jones, 14 runs allowed in his last 13 innings across 3 starts, up to now 5.03 ERA. Now he is getting nearly 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the 1.5 home runs per 9, that's an issue. And for the Boston Red Sox, they're averaging nearly 4.6 runs per game away from home. Had a little bit of a slow start yesterday, but still, Nick Sogard is now giving you about a 360 on base. Love what I'm seeing out of Wilson Contreras, 23 plus home runs, 390 on base. Caleb Durbin, since June 15th, he's been hitting well above a 275. Darren Duran still is hitting for like a 200, so that's been a little bit of an issue. But Andrew Marisserio is now giving you a 330 on base. Adley Rushman, a 330 on base. Masataka Yoshida, 350 on base. Cedon Rafaela, Weiler Abreu, 18 plus home runs apiece. And then for the Pirates, Brandon Lau continues to get loud with 24 plus home runs. He's hitting about a 250. Esmeralda Valdez starting to see some regression, but still about a 365 on base, a home run every about 12.5 at bats. And then you've got Brian Reynolds, Spencer Horwitz above a 370 on base. Jake Magnum is hitting a 300. Nick Gonzalez is hitting a 300. Need a little bit more out of Henry Davis at the bottom of the fold, and you're going to need more out of this bullpen for the Pirates as well, as they did revamp it at the trade deadline. Luke Weaver's a guy that I really like, but I think Camilo Duvall has not been too special this year. Kirby Yates is supplying about a 362 ERA. Lake Bucar, he's had his issues as a long guy. Yohan Ramirez is on the paternity list, so he's not going to be available in this game. And for the Boston Red Sox, they are numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA. I know that Teran Guerrero had a little bit of trial and tribulation out there in Toronto outfield, but Giovanni Morin, along with Garrett Whitlock, who's probably going to be hitting the injured list, unfortunately, so that needs to be accounted for. Eric Miller, these are all guys who give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been one of the best closers in all of baseball, and in the absence that I'm assuming for Garrett Whitlock, you're going to need Greg Weiser to step up a little bit more, and he's been much better ever since that rough beginning part of the season. And Alec Gamboa, low-key, is maybe will give you a sub-2 ERA as well. So do think that the Red Sox will get the job done in a little bit of a higher scoring game. One away up to a -122 on the Sox. And I do like the over, so I might fill it at 8.6. That'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy in Curtis Rogers. Does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports as the Mariners pre- and post-game host. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. And keep in mind, Larsium, the name does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, give you guys picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.